Hey, General Hospital, it's Radhika from Radhika, and we're going to talk about why Jacinda and Drew may be lining up for a ruthless takedown of Willow on General Hospital. But first, please hit subscribe if you're not already following us. So, this week on General Hospital, we saw Drew officially recover, and honestly, that alone changes the whole energy of this story. He is up, he is walking, he is talking, and he is very much back in the game, which is a problem for basically everyone around him. The only thing he is not doing right now is driving, and I mean, his lawyers are pretty much doing all that for him anyway, so that tiny limitation does not exactly make him harmless. If anything, it makes him more dangerous because now all that rage has nowhere to go except into planning. And let's be real, being locked away like that did not make Drew softer or more reflective or suddenly noble.
No.
It made him worse. Way worse. He came out of that whole ordeal looking like a man who has been sitting in a pressure cooker for 6 months, just waiting for the lid to blow. And now that he is free, he wants revenge, and not the cute daytime kind where somebody slaps somebody and storms out of a room. I mean scorched earth revenge. I mean total life ruined revenge. He would love to see Willow crushed, and honestly, he would probably love to see her 6 feet under too, if the show wanted to go completely unglued with it. Now, I do think Drew was manipulative. I do. He pushed, he schemed, he worked angles, and none of that was exactly saintly behavior. But I am also not going to sit here and pretend that getting shot twice in the back and then being locked inside your own body for 6 months is some proportionate little consequence. It is not. It is diabolical. So from Drew's point of view, Willow did not just betray him. She stole half a year of his life and left him powerless. That kind of thing does not lead to forgiveness. That leads to obsession. And Drew knows exactly where Willow is vulnerable. It is not even subtle. The thing that would hurt Willow most is losing her kids. That is the button. That is the weak spot. That is the loose end he wants to yank until her whole life unravels. The problem, of course, is that Drew cannot just storm into the police station and start making accusations because Jack Brennan has campaign fraud evidence hanging over his head like a guillotine. That blackmail is still there, and Drew knows it. If he makes one wrong move, Brennan can bury him. So now Drew has to be sneaky, which honestly is almost worse because desperate men with limits become creative. So while Drew wants Willow destroyed, he cannot go at her directly, at least not right now.
He needs distance.
He needs plausible deniability. He needs someone else to get messy while he keeps his fingerprints off the whole thing. And you know where this gets juicy because the show has dropped a very interesting candidate right in front of us. That would be Michael's girlfriend, Jacinda, who is looking more and more like a ticking time bomb every time Willow's name comes up. Now, over on Willow's side of this mess, she went to Michael and said she is divorcing Drew and wants 50-50 custody of the kids instead of the 60-40 arrangement she is right now. And that is a huge shift because Michael's biggest objection before was Drew. He did not want Wiley and Amelia around Drew, and honestly that was the cleanest argument he had. Drew was the disaster. Drew was the danger. Drew was the chaos in a suit. But now Willow is saying, in effect, fine, Drew is out of the picture, so what exactly is your excuse now? And that is not a terrible legal angle for her, which is annoying if you're a team Michael. And Willow did not stop there. She also made it clear that she thinks she can do pretty well in custody court because Michael has that felony conviction hanging over him and because he is dating Jacinda, who she very pointedly framed as an ex-sex worker. So Willow is not just asking for more time with the kids. She is already building her case, already pushing the narrative, already trying to make herself look stable and Michael look compromised. And I mean, whether people like Willow or not, that is smart strategy. Cold but smart. Now, Michael hates Willow right now. That part is not in doubt. So, I do not think this is one of those situations where he is secretly pining or just waiting to reunite for the kids.
No.
He is furious. He is hurt. He is done. But Jacinda is not going to love hearing Willow push for more custody, and she is definitely not going to love Willow remaining this permanent, ongoing presence in Michael's life. That would threaten any girlfriend, and you would think Jacinda, given her history and how hard she has been trying to secure her place, would be especially sensitive to that. And that is where the impatient spoiler comes in, which honestly is the part that makes this whole thing feel like a shocker waiting to happen. We have got that summer spoiler saying Jacinda gets impatient with Michael's plan to get Willow out of their lives. Not mildly annoyed. Not concerned. Impatient. That word matters because it tells you Michael is playing a wait-and-see game and Jacinda is not interested in waiting. She wants movement. She wants results. She wants Willow gone. And Michael, to be fair, does not exactly have great ammunition right now. Willow was acquitted in court of shooting Drew. There is no evidence to drag back out. She is single again, which removes one of the easiest angles against her. She has somehow managed to build herself into this respectable public figure, this little pillar of the community version of Willow that would probably make some people in Port Charles roll their eyes, but it still matters in court and in public opinion. So Michael is basically counting on Willow to self-destruct again, because he assumes she eventually will. And honestly, that is not a crazy assumption. Willow has a gift for making catastrophic choices. But it is still a passive strategy, and Jacinda does not sound like somebody in the mood to sit quietly and trust the universe. So then the story gets really fun, because spoilers say Jacinda is going to take matters into her own hands. And the second I hear that, I do not just think of Jacinda acting alone. I think of opportunity. I think of old connections. I think of people with shared grudges crossing paths and deciding maybe the enemy of my enemy is useful for one extremely shady summer. Because Drew and Jacinda are not strangers. Not at all. Their history is weird, messy, and memorable in exactly the kind of way soap writers love to circle back to when they need a new alliance. And if you remember that whole mess from last April, Drew was blackmailing Portia and Nina, which was already ugly. They were desperate to stop him. Nina knew Jacinda was a call girl because she had seen her with Ezra, and that little piece of information turned out to be very useful. So Nina approached Jacinda and paid her to drug Drew using ketamine that Portia had pressured Brad to steal. That whole chain of events was absolutely bonkers, by the way, but also very on-brand for this show. So Jacinda drugged Drew while Willow was off in Germany trying to see Michael at the clinic. Drew ended up high as a kite, and Jacinda got him over to the sea view where there were cameras rolling, and Drew was doing body shots off her, which is the kind of sentence only daytime television can make sound like a strategic plot move. Then Willow found Jacinda in Drew's bed, and Jacinda let Willow believe they had slept together even though they had not. She did the job, she played the part, and she helped blow up Drew's situation. That is history. That is leverage. And most importantly, that is proof these two can operate inside the same dark little orbit. Now, Drew is not thrilled about what happened back then, obviously. He is not exactly sending Jacinda thank you flowers for drugging him and setting him up. But he also knows Nina and Portia were really behind it. So while he has reasons not to trust Jacinda, he also does not necessarily see her as the mastermind. He may see her as a hired hand.
A tool.
Someone who did a job for money. And if that is how Drew categorizes her, then that makes it much easier for him to decide she can be useful again. At the same time, Jacinda has every reason to see Willow as a threat. Willow is trying to claw back more custody. Willow is still emotionally central to Michael's life, whether he likes her or not. Willow could, from Jacinda's point of view, always become the mother of the kids who pulls Michael back into her orbit just by existing. And honestly, even if Michael is done romantically, co-parenting alone keeps exes intertwined in ways new partners hate. That is just reality. So Jacinda wanting Willow out of the picture is not subtle jealousy. It is strategic jealousy. And then there is the irony that Jacinda actually seems to like the children while Drew does not. That is another fascinating little wrinkle. Drew, especially where Wiley is concerned, has been awful. There is nothing warm or nurturing in his attitude there. Jacinda, on the other hand, wants Michael, and wanting Michael often means wanting peace around his children. So the two of them do not even need the exact same emotional motivation to end up pursuing the exact same outcome. Drew wants Willow punished. Jacinda wants Willow neutralized. End result, same disaster. And meanwhile, Drew cannot make direct moves because Brennan has him cornered and Nina, Willow, and Jack are all going to be watching him like hawks. Every step he takes is going to be monitored. Every outburst he has will be judged. Every interaction will be scrutinized. But Jacinda? She is not on the radar in the same way. Willow may dislike her. Nina may not trust her. But nobody is treating Jacinda like the central threat in the room. And that is exactly what makes her so dangerous. The people nobody watches are the ones who can really wreck a day. So now that the stage is set, let's talk theories, because honestly this feels less like one of those vague daytime possibilities and more like a whole line of dominoes that have already been tipped. First up, I absolutely think Drew and Jacinda could become full-on partners in crime against Willow, and I mean that in the most soapy, deliciously underhanded way possible. I am not saying they have to sit down and sign some formal villain contract over drinks. It could start smaller than that. A chance run-in. A tense conversation. One of those scenes where both characters spend half the dialogue pretending they do not mean what they obviously mean. And then suddenly they realize they want the same thing. Willow ruined Drew's life. Willow threatens Jacinda's future with Michael. Why would they not use each other? And honestly, I could see Jacinda being the one to open the door. She may remind Drew that what happened before was business, not personal. She may even frame it as ancient history and act like she has no hard feelings and no loyalty to Willow. That would be very smart. Drew is furious right now, but he is also isolated, and people who feel trapped tend to warm up fast when somebody offers them a solution. Jacinda could present herself as someone willing to get her hands dirty while Drew stays at arm's length. That is exactly the sort of arrangement a man in his position might jump on. And the beauty of it, if you are Drew, is plausible deniability. He does not have to confront Willow. He does not have to risk Brennan immediately using that blackmail file. He can nudge, fund, advise, and strategically disappear whenever the heat gets close. Jacinda becomes the visible actor, the one moving pieces, while Drew stays in the shadows. And if anything blows up too soon, Drew can always act shocked. You know, the fake offended innocent thing he does when he wants people to underestimate how rotten his intentions are. Next, I am really looking at the possibility that they set Willow up to look like an unfit mother because that is the cleanest hit and the one most likely to achieve multiple goals at once. It could cost Willow custody. It could wreck her public image. It could even threaten her seat in Congress if the scandal is bad enough. And unlike murder or kidnapping or anything way too extreme too fast, this kind of setup is subtle enough to feel believable. It is dirty, but it is strategic dirty. And the show has practically handed them a method, because Jacinda has already been part of a drugging plot before. That is not a random little footnote. That is a template. So, I wonder if they revisit that exact same kind of scheme, only this time with Willow as the target. Imagine Jacinda drugs Willow, stages her in a public setting, and suddenly Willow is acting berserk in front of witnesses, cameras, maybe even around the kids, or at an event where it can do maximum damage. One night, one spectacle, one viral disaster. And boom, Willow goes from respectable public figure to unstable mess overnight. Honestly, that would be brutal, but it would also be the kind of soap twist that writes itself. Willow has already done enough terrible things that a lot of people in Port Charles would be ready to believe the worst about her. That is what makes a frame-up so effective here. If you try to frame somebody with a spotless record, the audience in story pushes back. But Willow? People would say, well, yeah, I can see her losing it. And that is devastating because once public opinion shifts, it is hard to get it back.